this was just brought to my attention. We're in a woodworking class, adult education in Covina, on Tablesaw safety. So hopefully you can hear me. But just to understand why things happen on the table saw, when things kick back, and trying to understand that before you use it, just what I want to show you from my experience. So, this is a saw stop. It has the riving knife or splitter, what we used to call it 20 years ago, 30 years ago. This is a safety aspect that in the shop environment, I'm not as worried when you're using the saw, because in a perfect world, if you accidentally touch the blade, the brakes can get activated and get thrown below the surface. And worst case, you're gonna have a little nick. That's in a perfect world if everything works right. We don't live in a perfect world, so sometimes that may not happen. But the riving knife is this piece that sometimes we take this off depending on the cuts that we're doing. But this helps keep the wood separated. So when you're pushing the wood through, the wood doesn't try to pinch the blade and cause it to bind, and that causes the wood kick back. So whenever possible, use this. It's not brand new technology, but SawStop is an awesome saw because of this. We're not sponsored by SawStop by any means, unless they want to give us some money. So this throat plate fits in here. Now, this saw has a dado blade, and it has a different brake. This saw has a 10-inch blade and a brake that gets activated, but that's an 8-inch blade, and it's a wider brake. So they cost different things, and that's why we'll never put a blade on that, because we'd have to adjust that in 2 inches. So we're gonna use these two, the professional and industrial saws, for this type of stuff, whenever we could use the riving knife. So the rule of thumb, when you're using the saw, how high should the blade be? You've all watched the YouTube videos and you see these famous guys make millions of dollars on YouTube, and they're not wearing glasses, safety glasses. They have the blade all the way up here. They've only been doing woodworking 7 years. You know what I'm talking about. So the theory is you want to raise the blade not more than you're willing to be cut. Does that make sense? So if you want to cut your whole finger off, raise it up past the wood and the height of your finger. But our rule has always been raise the blade a 1/4 inch above the material. Some people will argue with that and say raise it the height of the gullet. The gullet is the space in between the teeth here. So they want to make sure the carbide clears that. So they're going to raise that up so it clears the gullet. It's a little bit more than a 1/4 inch. They're both safer than raising the blade all the way up and getting damaged by it. So the question, in what I was just noticing in here, is sometimes this is a dangerous piece to cut. If you don't have the riving knife on and you don't know where to put the push stick, because if you look on this side, if I adjust this, and some of these push sticks I'm looking are kind of worn and don't fit on here real stable, I might throw these away and find something better than this. Because if this isn't stable here, you may not have the control pushing this push stick. I like this one. The reasons I like this one, in that last video I showed on how to cut the miter joint, the rabbet, this reaches over the blade and help push that scrap piece. The Facebook people, YouTube people, all were concerned about how I was operating that, but you didn't know the situation where we were and what we were talking about because you didn't watch the whole video. This is going to make life safer and easier with this. I've only seen Austin hardwoods. You can take the phone number off here and order this, but I love this push stick more than some others. But this has to fit between the fence and the blade or straddle over it. You don't want to set it up that you're going to cut this leg off here, or if you turn this over, you would cut into that. So it only works in certain situations. But I love this push stick because it protects your hand. But back to the regular push stick, where do you put the push stick in relationship to the fence, your wood, and the saw blade? Sometimes we're doing real narrow pieces and we don't want to get real close to here. So you might say, oh, I'm going to push this up against the fence. Now I'm going to push this away so some of you can see it better. But watch what happens when I do this. Imagine there's no riving knife and you panic, you say, where do I push this? And you push this here. This drifts off the fence and is starting to turn. The front of the blade pushes the teeth, push the wood down. The back of the blade, the teeth are coming up. Without this riving knife, if this is spinning, it climbs over this, turns, and kicks you back. Gets back, and you're gonna be black and blue and sorry you did it and sore. And you're gonna have a nice radius here. Some of you have done this at home, and that's why you're taking this class. I've seen people, they want to show me their black and blue. I don't want to see your black and blue. I'm telling you how to avoid it. So some people say, well, I screwed that up. I'm going to put that on my project to help me remember that. So I'm trying to avoid that to keep everyone safe. So if you have the height of the blade, the fence locked in, and you put the push stick here, we were just talking, that this left hand can hold the wood up against the fence and down on the table, but once you get to this red, means danger, don't put this hand gets out of the way. Someone in here last night, Mike and I were standing there watching, and they started to move their stuff. That's how you get hurt. You're gonna push this here, hold this down, use this, and I always say focus on pushing this way with it, but it's keeping it against the fence, push it through, push it through, push it through, push it out. Turn the saw off, wait till the power stops, then safely reach around and do that. Don't do it when it's coasting. And when sometimes I don't use this, sometimes I'm doing pieces that are the right size, I might feel more comfortable pushing this through with my hand. And I'm gonna exaggerate, but I see too many people pushing this through, pushing it through, pushing it through. They stopped, someone did it here recently, stopped and thought they could go around and get it. This piece is still pressure between the fence and the blade, and if you bump that, that piece is, by the time you get around to get it, that piece might be back here, thrown into the wall, broken the glass, or stuck in someone's back. So push this through, let the blade stop, then reach around and grab it when you can with the blade not spinning. This is going to be the safer way. But when I'm doing this, how do I deal with getting my hands out of the way? I tuck my finger in. Sometimes I'll straddle this. When I was doing that piece on the video for the rabbit joint, miter joint, people on Facebook or YouTube complained about how I was doing it, but they didn't know what I was doing. I had my finger straddled around the fence, and I was holding that, and I control that. I've done this for 40 years, that the people are complaining saying, oh, I can't follow that. You need to use a push stick. Well, this is not going to be safe pushing this through with a push stick. You don't have control over that. So for those of you who comment on that, I was safe with it. You didn't watch the whole video. So I would rather, if you don't use the push stick and you push it through with hand, you push it through. I'm straddling the fence when I can. My thumb's tucked in, away from the blade, behind it. I'm fully supported. When I'm done, here's the exaggeration, I lift my hand way up here before I turn it off and do stuff. I watch you guys do stuff, and I see this. And then you start talking to someone and you drag your hand across here. That's where people get hurt on the table saw. So concentrate, number one, on what you're doing. You're not talking on your phone, you're not talking to someone else. You push this through, get your hand out of the way, turn it off, wait till the blade stops. In the years of doing all this stuff, I've seen every scenario because I observe things, and I've seen someone talking on their phone while they're doing this. Don't bring your phone over here. Don't be distracted. If it rings, don't have your phone on. Don't be bring near the saw. I've seen people talking, hey, what did you do last night? Remember that time you FaceTimed me and we all got messages? So just be aware of what you're doing, concentrate on this. And I've seen people that maybe they're not tall enough, they can't reach, so they push it through and they say, okay, and then they're done. I've seen that. Stop doing that. Watch the videos, take advice from someone that you can trust. That there's a lot of people online that they're just filming They make a lot of money filming, but they don't have experience. So this one goes in the trash today. This one goes in the trash. If someone wants to make these, we have a pattern, but at some point these aren't safe. So these aren't safe. These are taken away. So thank you for watching.